Hi guys, Kirk from Dick's Taxidermy. So we're headed to the shop right now. I have a group of hunters bringing in 3 mule deer, an antelope, and an elk. And they told me that they have turned lips, nose, and ears and salted the capes down real good and kept them real cold. So they're in good shape. But he did say that they were having a problem with the skulls. They said the skulls are starting to smell real bad. And I asked him if he salted them down, the skulls, and he said he didn't know that he could do that. He did tell me that he has kept them wrapped up in plastic. So that's part of the problem right there. So I'm going to recommend to him that in the future that he actually removes about 90% of the meat off of the skull and then also pull the brain out and then salt that skull down real well. Once he does that, then he can put it into like a breathable bag, like a deer bag or cheesecloth. And then at that time, that skull will never smell again. That salt kills the bacteria, and the bacteria is what causes that real awful smell. So if he salts them down, puts them in a breathable bag, he'll never have this problem again. So what we'll do is we're gonna go over to the shop, and I'm actually going to get a skull out, and I'm gonna show you how we flesh a skull down and how we salt it and how we prepare our skulls for transportation. So that way, in the future, when you take your skull and cape into a taxidermist, you can present him with a real nice fresh skin and skull, and it just makes for a better mount in the end. So let's head over there and we'll see what we got. Here I begin removing the cheek meat. Just use your knife and remove as much flesh and fat as you can. Here you can see that the hunter has left the neck attached to the skull. You actually want to separate the neck from the skull right where the atlas meets the axis. If you do that, then the axis hole will allow you to get in and get that brain out. If you have a neck vertebrae left in place like this one is, attached to the skull, you cannot get in there and you cannot remove the brain. So go in between those joints with a knife, twist it off, and remove that extra neck meat. Here I begin removing more tissue between the jaw. My goal is to remove as much meat as I can here so I can break that jaw loose and remove it from the skull. I'm going in here and just cutting down in there and removing the eye from the eye socket. We'll do that on both sides. Here I'm just removing more of that muscle that's holding that jaw in place. Once I cut down through there, I'll be able to just pop that jaw right off. We need to remove as much flesh and fat as we can. I always refer to it as removing about 90%. Once you get about 90% of the meat and fat off of this skull, it'll be ready to put salt on. Just take your time and go slow here. Generally it takes about 20 minutes or so to get all the fat and flesh off of a skull. This would be a good job for those Havalon knives that most of you guys have purchased. You know I don't like those knives when it comes to caping. They do a very, very poor job. In fact, we actually have a video we're getting ready to produce that will be going over the Havalon knives. Once we remove as much meat as possible, now we're going to attempt to move part of the brain. So we'll get in there with a power brush and just put that drill in there, and it will start to remove that brain. You can also use a hand brush. Hand brush works good, plumber's brush, or even a stick. Generally, when I'm in the field, I'm just using a stick. Here I begin to fill the brain cavity with salt. I want to get that salt down in there so that any tissue that might be left in there, the salt will cure it, and that doesn't allow it to smell. We're going to get the salt down into the sinus tissues and all through the eye sockets and all around the skull. Your skull should look like this once you've finished. Again, keep adding salt, pack it full. Here I'm getting down into the sinuses right here. You'll see there's 2 slots there. Fill both of those. That's exactly where the flies want to go first thing. Take time to take care of your skull. We can take care of it for you, but remember, it takes time, and time is money.